Hey y'all, this is TCA Gamer. I want to do a follow-up to the previous video I did where I was discussing the base first edition wrapper roll, and mostly in just kind of like a response to the seller. I assume this is the seller it says he is, and it sounds right based off the wordage and everything that he's using here. So I think it's important that he actually gets a little bit of a voice in this. It is my platform, but he doesn't have one, and I'm the one who called him out. Kind of publicly. I didn't really reveal who it was, but it wouldn't take long for you guys to figure out who it was if you really wanted to dig. So let's go over some of this. I'm not completely comfortable with the way the comments went with calling him a scammer. I get it from one standpoint, the way that I was insinuating that he was being deceptive with some of his selling practices at the con, but at the same time, I really don't think he is trying to scam anybody at all, and he has not did that with me in any way that I know of. As far as I know, everything that that has went on between me and him has been good, other than the fact that that deal got soured, and I put out that video, right? So, hey, seller here. While I appreciate you posting most of the correct information about our conversation, you did seem to leave out that you did not respond once I told you I'd be attending the convention to present to PSA and CGC for verification, and still have not responded. So we'll stop there. I'm going to try to break this up a little bit. That is true. I did not respond to his eBay message when he did respond to me from when I had asked on that Tuesday why he had not shipped it or why he hadn't sent tracking yet. Because at that point, everything had been set. The full process had been laid out. He had agreed to it. And I was supposed to get tracking on Monday. So I'd reached out to him on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, he got back to me stating that he had not shipped it. And that was not the plan anymore. He was going to be taking it to a convention, and there was a few other messages in there, and he was polite about it. But for me, yeah, I was angry at that point because now I look like an idiot, to that WotC employee. Maybe not so much an idiot, but the fact that I had everything set up. He was supposed to get tracking. I was going to give him tracking on Monday because I was kind of going off the dates that he told me, and I was translating, what he had said directly to the employee as well, so he knew what to expect. And so at that point, deal was pretty much over. When you back out like that, to me, what I would have said next probably wouldn't have been nice. So I chose not to say anything. I was just going to let it lie. I have many business dealings. They go bad. They're not necessarily bad, but they just don't happen. Like somebody will send me a bunch of cards. They'll tell me, hey, could you help me out? Price these out. Could you let me know what you'd buy them for? And then after you give them all the information, they're just kind of gone. Like that does happen. So I'm kind of used to it, but at the same time, I figured the deal was dead at that point because he was wanting to get PSA and CGC verification. I think any of us here know that going to ask a grading company at a convention where they have people who are most likely there for getting customers or getting grading, asking them about an item that is so niche and unique about the authenticity of it, that doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, most likely, I could probably tell you how the conversation went. You brought it up there. Could you tell me if this is real? They asked to see it. They saw it. Wow, that's really cool. And then probably most of the conversation was any information that he gave them, that's pretty much what they went off of. Like that's going to be the first time they saw the product, and that's going to be really what, they're kind of looking at. Now, if there's somebody more in the hobby that has bought and sold that's been hired by PSA, that might be a little different. But even still, you're not going to have a qualified person there to authenticate it. Like that would just be kind of crazy, especially when they're representing a company that authenticates and grades single trading cards. Like but how do you say that to somebody? So it's almost like, do not take this the wrong way, PSA or CGC or anyone. It'd be like going into Walmart and walking up to an employee that's putting jeans on the shelf and asking them, hey, are these vintage jeans right here, are they real? Is this like, how much is this worth? Can you verify that these aren't counterfeit ones? It's like that person knows everything about their job. They could be the best, putting the jeans up there. They might know how the product comes in, through Walmart distribution. They could be the manager, but they're not going to be. They're very likely they're not going to be qualified to give an appropriate opinion to authenticate something like that. That Walmart definitely doesn't sell. CGC, PSA, they don't sell this kind of stuff. So now I'm not saying that they couldn't find contacts. I don't know what the incentive would be, since that's not something that they grade. They grade sealed product, and even that's kind of outsourced, or it used to be. I don't know if it still is or not. So I don't think that they would have incentive to give away a WotC employee contact. And, I'd already lined somebody up who was not only willing to authenticate it, but issue a statement about it. So that whole thing, when he told me that he was going to be taking it there, and, the only reason that I hadn't heard about it, I would assume, is because he didn't want to tell me, but that's an assumption from me. I reached out to him on Tuesday. He told me Wednesday, but I was supposed to have tracking on Monday, and the convention ended up being that weekend. Also, put yourself in his shoes. He's going to be selling some of these around at conventions anyways. I mean, this is potentially a lot of money that he could be making off of these. It's probably like a once in a lifetime type deal that you're going to find this stuff. If he's being contacted from someone like me over the internet, wanting to go through this process where I take care of the cost for the shipping, and the other guy authenticating, I'm going to pay him out for his time. He's having to blindly ship this stuff to me, and I say it's insured, but what assurances can I really give him over an eBay message? We all know we're pretty limited on eBay messages as it is, so you have to use certain kind of wording, and so I kind of get it. If he could get something more definite in person, that would be a bit of an incentive. But again, I chose not to respond because I don't think that conversation could have went well, especially with me being angry at the fact that he backed out of the deal and that I had someone lined up. So that's where I was sitting with that. So what he's saying there, that is true. I did not respond to his message that he had sent to me on that Wednesday for the convention that was going to be there for that weekend. So I had chose to just let it lie, let it go. And the only reason I did respond is because people were reaching out to me about these particular items. They knew there was something that I collected and that I liked, and that I had some of my own. All right, so let's move on. Also, the only person I dropped your name to was one fella from a big auction house, your friend, only after he asked that your offer would have translated to 45K CAD after the fees. Not sure if he thought for individual, that's why you said 90K. So nobody actually come to me said that you dropped my name. That may have been like a misunderstanding between me and you, or what I said in the past video. I had people who come to me asking me, and they didn't actually say who you were. They just showed the product, and I was like, hey, does it have this? So that's how that come up. The big auction house, I assume you're talking about Golden. I bet I know people at Golden, but I can't think of any like off the top of my head. If you said their name, I'd probably know who they were. I know quite a few people at all of these various places, but at the same time, I'm not very close with many of them because I can't sell on Golden. I can't sell on Heritage. I can't sell on Fanatics. I can't sell on Whatnot, Rare Candy. None of those places, because I am contracted to eBay. Most of you guys know that. So I don't care if you name drop me. You can always say TCA Gaming said this or whatever. I mean, that doesn't bother me at all. Like if I say something, I stand behind it, and if I messed up, then I will apologize for that, or I'll address it. So I don't care if you name drop me. I mean, that's fine. If somebody said that they knew me, then they probably do, and I might know them as well. But that doesn't bother me at all. As for the 90K offer, that was just something that I was told about from two places. And whether or not those were true, or whether or not you actually said those things, I don't know. But if it was true and you were telling people that you had a 90K offer, then my offer's nowhere near that. That's a lot of money that you potentially made or could have made if you did sell, didn't sell. I don't know how that situation went. I don't know anybody personally who made that offer, but I do know one person who was ready to go in around that price with me if I gave him the green light. So it was like, I'm not there. I'm not at that price. That's not where I was, because, I was obviously at 10K and 25K, and I thought that we had a deal set, and, I was going to help get it authenticated. Plus I was going to help you sell yours in addition to that, because my plan was I was going to publish the results if they were deemed that they were authentic, or I could get the green, not the green light, but like the overall opinion from the guy saying that while I can't determine that they're real, I do think that they're real. I did plan to sell them in that case, but we had agreed that I wasn't going to sell any of mine until you sold through yours. You had 50 sets of each of them, and I was going to refer people to you because I really think your price is very reasonable. If they are authentic, that price is really good. You're only at like $300 or something like that. I can't even remember what it was, but I think you could easily get $500 out of a set for those things, and that would more than double your money right there just off of the 100 sets that you have. And I think I mean, I could be incentivized too, right? Because I've got affiliate links with eBay. So, I mean, it could work out for both of us. But we have to get that authentication before all that bias kind of gets in there. And so that was the whole point of having the WotC employee. And if I buy them first and then do it, then there's even more bias in it. So it can be really a tangled up mess when you're trying to do something like this. And I'm going to talk about the whole bias thing a little bit here, a little bit later with the actual sheets themselves. But let's move on. Also was told by both grading companies that there are likely registration roles or proofing errors after I presented that idea that you brought to my attention, but they do not grade foils. That's the problem. Like this is the problem. So both grading companies, so both CGC and PSA agreed with you after you brought this information to their attention, that was brought to your attention, that was brought to my attention from a WotC employee that is unnamed and hasn't published anything, either publicly through himself or through documentation. That's why it's not evidence. He is right. The WotC employee I talked to said these could be registration roles. But I didn't mention that because it's not my information to present. It's not evidence. The TM not being there, that's evidence. I can pull those sheets down, put them right in front of you and show you, hey, there's not a TM mark. Oh man, I had a coughing spell there. But yeah, I can point out right here, there's no TM mark. That's evidence, right? Evidence is when you can show something as a fact. But if I come in here and I give an opinion of somebody else, like what you did was you gave an opinion from me through an eBay message that I got from a text from a WotC employee, and you gave it to grading companies who you're saying agreed with you. Like that's not, you can't make a determination based off of that. You have to have the correct channels for authentication, or at least for an opinion. All right, next up, I was also not going around trying to dump as many off as possible. I brought the 2 rolls for authentication and 20 cut sheets, which is all I sold, 20. That I explained to the people who grabbed one and from me, and they were test print and errored. Okay, so like, I mean, I don't care. I mean, at that point, the deal was kind of done for me. So, how many you sell? I mean, I would understand that you'd want to sell as many as possible, but you explained to the people that they were test print and errored. Like, you don't even know that. That's the problem. You took something that the information that I gave you as fact without actually getting that authentication done. Like, I could have made up anything. And if it sounded good, you might have took it from the way that I'm reading this. I could understand your frustration, but you've just responded to our conversation prior to making a semi-slanderous video. But then again, I don't understand why you'd be upset if you truly thought they were fake anyways. That's just it, man. I'm going to say this for the first time on the video and I'm going to explain why. I don't actually think they're fake. My gut says that they're not. But my gut really doesn't matter, and it matters so much less because I was wanting to sell them. Let me give you an example. Let me see if I can pull off Chrome here. Nice Surging Sparks video. All right, so here's this. This is my base set uncut roll. This is what I have left of it anyways. This is base unlimited. Some of you watching this video have probably bought this from me. You know how much provenance I have on it? None. The only thing that tells me this is real is because I look at it and I don't see anything wrong with it, and it doesn't make sense when I bought it. Like, there's no motivation for anybody to fake anything. I sell this based on the fact that I feel 100% confident enough to sell it that I put my name behind it. You know how many times I've been challenged and told that this is fake? None. Not once. Because I sell it, people automatically trust that it is real. And I don't mean to say that in a way that's puffing up my name or whatever. But if I sell those uncut wrappers, but in my mind I have any doubts, that's where I think there's a problem. I have to make sure that it's not just my gut. Like, I feel confident enough that I can put my full name behind it. The moment I sell something like that, where it's not been at least authenticated by some other third party, and I can't fully say, I can't explain away the TM for sure, or the font differences, or the blurriness, or any of these other differences between the two rolls. The fact that some of the stuff, like there was black and white prints at the beginning of the roll, those were cut off. Like these are all things that I'm not in a position to be able to explain away because I've never worked in a factory to see these things. Several of you since yesterday have reached out talking about different things, what you thought about these rolls, the possibilities, how it could go either way. But the thing is, that's still all your opinions, and it's not mine. So that's where I think the issue comes in here. I don't actually think that they're fake. I think this is, like I said, I believe it could be a historic item. Not crazy historic, but still really cool. Something that I would love to have in my personal collection, but you got to have that authenticity behind it, especially if you're going to go and sell it to other people. That's the issue. It's not about the evidence that you could kind of make up and justify the sale. Like, oh, this is this could be a registration roll. This could be, where they were just testing out, the extra length of the the roll to make sure that they got the print quality, in line, or, they re-rolled it. That's why one goes one way, one goes the other way. This is all information that could be true, but we don't know for sure. And you haven't gotten an expert opinion in that area to at least verify which way you're leaning, or that you can present to people that are possibly buying it. Because from what you said right here, I explained to people that they were test, print, and error. Like, you don't know that. Like, you really don't know that. It's possible. It's very possible, right? Likely registration rolls. Again, that's possible, but you don't know that. Like, these are things that you have to make sure that you have down pat, or at least you've got somebody who's giving you those opinions that you can lean on that's not you. That's why you got to have that third party. All right, and then I think you had another one too. And guys, I really I definitely appreciate how many of you stuck up for me. And I kind of just left all the comments. I'm going to leave his comments as well, but I really don't think he's trying to scam me because, like he said, when I first saw these from Collector in Training, like, I was ready to buy them right then. To me, they look real. My gut said they're real. Let's go ahead and buy them. I told him to set up to buy it now, but he had limit issues, and we couldn't get that deal set up because he wanted me to see them in person first before he took the money. If he was a scammer, he is absolutely right. If he was trying to scam me, then he would have just took that money and ran. That's what this next comment is kind of about. I don't think he's trying to go that way, but I'm hoping that now that he is selling them, that he goes about it just an open way, making sure people know all of the facts, and he's not putting things out there that are opinions as facts. Like, there's a couple different, ways that you can approach how you sell something, and, I can't control how he does it. He can sell it however he wants, and there's always consequences, whether they be good or bad, for how you sell something. And hopefully everything's real and he's presenting all the information to people. And if anyone out there is asking me about these, I'm going to try to point them back to these videos just so they can kind of see what's going on. He said also, I did not dodge any of our previous agreements. Well, I mean, I would disagree there. I did not want to accept 35K USD until you've seen and authenticated. We just talked about that. That's where I was ready to buy them day one, but he wanted to send them to me, let me see them in person. And, at that point, that's when we set up the whole thing. Well, I pushed the narrative that we need to get them authenticated, and I would take care of all the costs for that. I'd say that's pretty honest of me, isn't it? And I think it is. Where scammers would have made off with your money, agreed. And one point I could add, if someone did scan and print them, wouldn't all these details from the original be captured and not missing at all? Great point. If somebody just scanned something and then they reprinted it, why would it be missing TM? Why wouldn't it have the same font? I'm not too sure on the whole font deal, how that works out, but the TM thing, that could be very well true. Another thing is, we've seen fakes that have that missing. So I mean, you could still get the file and remove TM for trademark, thinking maybe that'll help you out, but it wouldn't help you out. But we've seen that happen with counterfeits, especially from that time, where stuff like TM on the backside of the Pokemon card, it's missing. That's just kind of like a known, one of the things that you used to look for fake cards. Like, you used to be able to look through them, the swirl, it's missing the black link black ink layer. You could rip the card in half, but if it's real, then you just mess up a good card. But it's a good point, but at the same time, it doesn't work. Like, that doesn't prove anything. It just means that, yeah, it's very possible, that if they scanned it in, they would have had TM on there. But then now you're saying all the ones with TM on there could be fake too. So it just kind of adds to what could be counterfeit. And then especially the font being exact the same and not different from one to the other. They are clearly proofing or design testing rules. Nothing else makes sense otherwise. That's where the danger comes in right there, because you're saying they are clearly proofing or design testing rules. Like, how can you come to that conclusion just on the fact of, I sent you a message about an opinion from a WotC employee and what you've determined by looking at them? To me, I don't see how you can come to that. Like, I had one guy today tell me, like, it would be super simple for someone to take an image and scan it onto the rolls if they have the right access. But the problem is, he said that's very unlikely, but, we've only come across a few of these few rolls ever. I've got one for base set I just showed you guys. I've also got one for the double fossil that was that come through somebody else through a trade. I've heard of one for a base set too, and I believe there's a few others that have been out there, but none for base first edition that I know of. So I think you got to get it right. You got to do as much as you can to disprove why it could be counterfeit, because there may never be a way that you can fully authenticate something like this. But if anybody thinks that they could authenticate it, or you have those background credentials and experience, maybe reach out to Daniel C6928. But I want to make sure everything's kind of clear with everybody here. I don't think that he's trying to scam anybody. To put it into perspective, the ones that I bought off of eBay, he didn't even send me the right products. I bought 2 of the black and white. He sent me one black and white, then he sent me the other ones, like from the 2 rolls, which I'm glad he did, because it let me look at them and examine them. Like, I'm not returning. I have not chosen to return those anyways. I know some people have chosen to return them, but I didn't do that. And I think he was very. It was very honest of him, like he's saying right here, to want to send those to me before taking the money. But the second time, when we agreed to everything, lined everything up, that's where I was done with the deal, because I was really excited about him. That's where my personal bias comes in. I was very excited about the deal, wanted to happen, and it didn't. And I still think that it's a really cool item. Like, if he ends up selling through someone like Golden, and Golden goes to the proper channels and finds somebody to authenticate this and put their name behind it, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I wouldn't bid on it. Like, I would be a player. Like, I would go in and I'd probably still bid on that product. But as it is right now, I just don't think that there's enough that you can come in here and say that they're clearly proofing or design testing rolls. My gut says I think they're real just because of what I can see there through the pictures. It might be different, if I got it in person. Because I'll tell you, my opinion changed quite a bit from the time that I was ready to buy them, looking at the eBay listing, to when I got them in person, and Collector and Trainer pointed out, hey, this doesn't have TM. He showed me some pictures about the font being off, and then there's a few other things that I noticed as well. Like, your opinion can really change that quick on something when you see it in person. But I really do. I hope that they are real. I hope that they are. I hope he finds a way to get them authenticated. And I do ask you guys, please don't be calling him a scammer anymore. I hope none of you are like messaging him or anything like that, unless you have good information for him. If you have good information, you have helpful information, go that route. I may have left out some more stuff, but hopefully this addresses most of it. All right, guys, hope you weren't too bored, and I'll see some of you tonight during the live.